In today's video, a new shocking report regarding crime in Chicago has been released. Also, the president, part 2 of his interview with Laura Ingram, is absolutely shocking MAGA voters. And finally, UC Berkeley is now under investigation by the Department of Justice. But where do we start first is with JB Pritzker's reaction to Border Patrol.
The question was about Greg Bovino and CBP possibly leaving Chicago. I read the same thing. You know, they don't communicate directly with us and never have. All I can say is that, you know, whether it was the loss in the elections a week ago that's led to Donald Trump deciding to pull CBP out, or the fact that Greg Bovino is a snowflake on a day when you can see some snowflakes. Whatever it is, the people of Chicago have deserved better than having CBP and Greg Bovino in this city. But I would not say that we're now going to be free of these terrorized neighborhoods, because ICE and CBP probably will still be here, though they will have fewer people, and we'll have to continue to protect our neighbors and our friends and our families. And I will work very hard, continue to do that, to keep people safe.
So clearly, JB Pritzker wants to continue to play these partisan games at the expense of the safety of the people of Chicago. The good news here is ICE has been able to help Chicago get better results as far as crime is concerned. I'll show you a clip of that here shortly. And finally, it is true that Border Patrol is going to go to North Carolina next, Charlotte, that is. But it's false that they're leaving the city of Chicago. Now, those results I was talking about that JB Pritzker does not want to admit out loud, listen here.
Now, Tricia McLaughlin with DHS put out a statement today that they're not leaving Chicago and noted that since the start of Midway Blitz, homicides are down 16%, shootings are down 35%, robberies down 41%, carjackings down 48%, transit crime down 20%. And if you look at the numbers from the mayor's own dashboard, they're even more dramatic. Gary McCarthy is the former police superintendent here in Chicago, and he told me that the bellwether for how crime impacts the average citizen is robbery. And if you look at the mayor's own numbers, robberies are down 44%.
Wow would be the appropriate response. So 44% crime is down as far as robberies are concerned. But JB Pritzker claimed that they are terrorizing neighborhoods and that, you know, Greg Bovino is a snowflake. No, JB Pritzker is the snowflake because he emotionally reacts to everything that the Trump administration is doing, instead of focus on actually doing his job, which is making the state of Illinois greater. And we know he's refused to do that. In fact, it hasn't happened. Now, here is Greg Bovino himself on Newsmax just earlier, setting the record straight. Take a look.
Okay, that's fair. Now, just to get to the initial question, are you moving to another city? I know you guys have got a lot of cities that are in your purview that you want to fix.
Rob, we're in several cities. Border Patrol agents are in dozens of cities nationwide now. As you know, as I've led forces here at Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, I was pulled to places like Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, and other places. Yeah. And it's very possible that that I could go somewhere else. I go where the threat is, and wherever that threat is, I'm going to go. CBP is not leaving Chicago. We're going to be here for the long haul. We've got a lot more work to do here. As a matter of fact, Rob, my team and I are drawing up plans right now for Chicago, some very dynamic plans that I can, it's undoubtedly that Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson are going to like a lot. So we're going to have some very dynamic operations set for Chicago coming up very, very soon.
Now, here's what the president put up on Truth Social here regarding Chicago. I'm proud to announce that Chicago, Illinois, despite all of the radical opposition and obstruction we have from the mayor and the governor, has seen car theft, shootings, robberies, violent crime, and everything else drop dramatically. And we just showed you the numbers on that. So the bottom line to his statement is this. As we ramp up more assets, these numbers will continue to drop. This has been achieved despite the extraordinary resistance from Chicago and Illinois radical Democrat leadership and the constant violent left-wing terrorism against ICE officers and federal agents that instructionist Democrat officials refuse to stop or prosecute, including constant physical assault and attempted assassination. Yeah, I think at this point, the American people, particularly people who voted for Trump, we want results.
Do you ever imagine we'd live in a country where the guys that are tasked with removing illegal immigrants and criminals out of cities would be fought by the leaders of those cities, that the politics would become so warped? I mean, this is a brand of politics that 20 years ago in this country, neither political party would even believe was possible.
Sure. You couldn't write a fiction book any stranger than what is happening right now. You're right, Rob. I never would have thought this would have happened, but it's here now. And, you know, you call it a warped brand of politics. I think it's pure corruption. The whole system, especially here in Chicago, is corrupt. But the good thing is you've got the good guys here, and we're going to degrade, dismantle, and disrupt this whole corrupt system, whether it's those illegal aliens, those criminal illegal aliens, or those who support that lawlessness.
Bottom line to this particular story is that ICE has been able to accomplish great things. Over 2 million people have been deported, by the way. 1.5 million self-deportation, the rest at the hands of ICE and Border Patrol. And that's without the funding from the One Big Beautiful bill, by the way. So just imagine what they're going to be able to accomplish next year, including the impact they've had on crime. As you guys seen in Chicago, is down 44%. Okay, so this takes us to our next update. This interview with Laura Ingram from the president continues on part 2. They released it tonight. And she continued to press him on the economy, H-1B visas as well. And I got to say, these answers are not the best from the president. So just be prepared. Let's start with this first clip. This is about what Republicans should be saying about the economy moving forward. Take a look.
Republicans have to talk about the fact that prices are down. The Walmart thing is very important. When Walmart says a Thanksgiving meal costs 25% less under Trump than under Biden, I mean, to me, that's better than.
So Republicans need to spend more time talking about how great the country is and less time complaining about the Democrats?
We have potentially the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have, again, Biden did in just a short period of time. Biden couldn't raise anything. No investment. I think investment went out of our country. I'm now at almost $18 trillion in 9 months. That's the biggest in the history of the world. China's never done it, never done anywhere near that. And all that money is coming in. It's investment. It's building auto plants. It's building AI plants. Where, by the way, we're leading China by a lot on AI. We have potentially the greatest, already it is. But we have, when these things open up, there's never going to be a country like what we have right now.
And does that
mean
the
Republicans have to talk about it?
Okay, so here's a very important question. I'd really love for you guys to answer in the comment section for the homeowners out there. How many of you guys have checked your home title recently? Why is that so important? Well, did you know there are scammers right now stealing people's home titles so they can access their home equity? It's dangerous out there. And what happens if you don't do nothing about this, not only will they get access to your home equity, but they'll take out loans, leave you with the foreclosure, leave you with the collection notices, and you are just screwed. So I'm going to ask you again, when was the last time you checked your home title? And if the answer is never, you could do something about it today by going to HomeTitleLock.com using promo code DeVory. And as an added bonus, you can get access to a free title history report and their $1 million triple lock protection, which comes with 24/7 monitoring, alerts if anything changes, and $1 million worth of insurance to fix if you are a victim. Now, don't leave your situation to chance. Don't blow this off. Head over to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code DeVory. Again, that's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code DeVory. All right, let's just pause here. So the president is telling Republicans to talk about how great the economy is. The problem with that is no one can feel $18 trillion in investment right now. That's the president's words. Nobody can feel that right now. That's not taking anything away from the hard work he's put in to get these investments, by the way. I don't care if it's $100 billion or $18 trillion. The fact that he's gone out there and was able to procure that amount of investments into AI, energy, manufacturing, and these different sectors into our country is phenomenal. The problem is time is not on his side. And the other problem is the American voters, when they go to the ballot box, the only thing they care about is not the investments. They care about how they feel about the money in their bank account.
Republicans have to talk about it.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well, let me
when you
just,
and I were
I'll give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing. It's very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm thoughtful with my reaction here. Number one, it starts off with a question. Why would we support a policy where foreign nationals are the ones manufacturing our missile systems? Please answer that in the comment section. That is a non-starter. That is a no-go at this station. Number two, I don't know what's going on with the president, but he should just come out and say, hey, listen, I want to propose a program that would cultivate the talent needed to replace H-1B visa workers, not just say, hey, we need them. No, why don't you give the American people a chance? Brings me to point number three. The American worker, given the environment and the opportunity and the right information, is just as smart and just as capable as anybody else in this world. We have proven that as a country before, and we could do it again. But we have to put our people first. Now, I don't know who's advising the president, but if someone is advising him on this particular H-1B visa program and stance, they should be fired ASAP.
We are doing phenomenally well. This is the greatest economy we've ever had. Their talking points, oh, of course, sorry, of course, sorry. By the way, the only thing is beef. Beef
coffee
is a little high because the ranchers are doing great. Coffee, we're going to lower some tariffs. We're going to have some coffee come in. We're going to take care of all this stuff very quickly, very easily. It's surgical. It's beautiful to watch. But our costs are way lower. Now, Walmart came out with a statement that they do every year for many, many decades. And they said that a Thanksgiving meal costs 25% less this Thanksgiving, coming up, think of that, than it did last Thanksgiving under Sleepy Joe Biden. That's a 25% reduction. I think that's right. And if you remember, when I first came in, the first 2 days I had a news conference, eggs, they were hitting me with eggs. Eggs had quadrupled in price. And they're screaming at me. They say, I just got here. I didn't know about eggs. And Brooke Rollins, our agricultural commissioner, secretary, did a great job. And now eggs are what they were. We got eggs down. We get it all down. But our prices are much lower. Their line is price is affordability. That's the new word, affordability. It's much less expensive under Trump. And I haven't been here long. 9 months is not a long time. But look at what I've done to energy. Look at the price of gasoline. Going from $4.50 to $2.50 or $2.70, it's going to be $2 gasoline.
All right. So bottom line, I'm with Bill O'Reilly. The administration needs to appoint a cost of living czar, an inflation czar, someone who's going to be great at communicating exactly what the administration is doing about the cost of living, the high costs of really everything. And again, it's not the president's fault why things are high. Okay, he came into the White House after an administration that caused record inflation. So I don't think the approach is to tell the American people we have the greatest economy in the world. That doesn't mean anything to people, okay? What means something to people is when they look in their bank account or they're getting a job and they're getting that promotion or they're being offered a job, that what they're earning is something that's going to help them live a comfortable lifestyle or a lifestyle that will allow them to save up and leverage to a better lifestyle.
Hamburger is now $8 a pound on sale. It was $4 a pound on sale last year. I call that a 100% increase. And she started the email off by saying, I am a Trump supporter.
All right, let's take beef.
So what do you say to her right now? It's not about one thing. It's about.
We feel your pain. We are literally doing everything we can. I mean, I actually meet with a group.
But the president calls it a con job.
I meet with a group once a week in the Roosevelt room where we've got an attack plan to deal with beef.
I get that. I get that, Peter, but I'm going to give you the last minute. The president calls this a con job. How do the American people think he feels their pain when he says it's a con job?
At the political level, that's what's going on. They blame him for Biden's legacy.
And therefore he's angry.
And that makes him angry. But again,
I understand
the discussion we can have And I'll come back for a longer
Please
one.
do.
We can go through this.
All right, next update. And it's interesting because we were just talking about this earlier. That is, UC Berkeley is now under investigation by the Department of Justice for the chaos that ensued at the hand of Antifas when they attacked Turning Point USA attendees during their last event on this college tour. And to make that announcement and actually discuss it, here is the DOJ representative themselves on Fox News. Take a look.
Laura, thanks for having me so much. It's a pleasure to be here. This feels to me like deja vu all over again. I think it was like 8 years ago that I came on your show and talked about suing UC Berkeley for exactly this type of violent chaos that happened on the campus. And at that time, Berkeley was preventing conservative groups from having conservative speakers and then exposing them, if anyone ever came, to this type of violence. I sued them. I won a settlement, and Berkeley agreed to protect the guests of conservative speakers, and yet here we are. They seem, as Savannah mentioned, to be completely unprepared. The Berkeley, local police as well seem to be unprepared, undermanned. They treat it as if it's a both sides problem. It is not a both sides problem. When a violent mob like Antifa comes and attacks like this, it's what we call a heckler's veto in First Amendment jurisprudence. And given the fact that there has now been a terrorist designation here, the Joint Terrorism Task Force is going to be looking into this together with the DOJ, my Civil Rights Division, and the FBI, and understand what happened here. How did it come to be the case that when Berkeley has noticed that this type of violence occurs on the campus when conservative speakers come to speak, and by Rob Schneider had been scheduled to speak, it was a sold-out crowd of 2,000 people, and less than 1,000 people were there in the stadium because people were intimidated by this violence. So this is not a consequence-free situation.
This situation is very easy to fix, okay? And I would hit UC Berkeley 3 different ways. First, I'd freeze federal funding, make them come to the table to prove that they're going to do something about cracking down on this nonsense. Number 2, I'd start revoking visas ASAP, okay? And number 3, if somebody is arrested outside because they were assaulting someone, I'd have the federal government prosecuting their case. Because at the end of the day, at a educational institution like a university, like at UC Berkeley, who's supposed to be all about prestige, this should have zero tolerance. You want to go out there and peacefully protest? Go right on ahead. But as soon as you get violent, as soon as you start pushing people, as soon as you put your hands on law enforcement officers, you are finished.
Berkeley has announced, oh, we're so happy that 1,000 people came to hear this. That is not the whole story. The story is that when Sonia Sotomayor comes to speak, when the Dalai Lama comes to speak, the Berkeley campus somehow is able to protect the speaker and all of the people who attend. And when it's a conservative speaker, it isn't. So we have some serious questions and concerns about this, and there'll be a full federal investigation. We've already sent 2 letters to Berkeley and to the police to preserve their documents so we understand how we came to this horrific situation to make sure it never happens again at UC Berkeley.
So what particular statutes are potentially triggered here? The terrorist designation for Antifa, but is it this? So this would be a civil rights. Could be a civil rights conspiracy action? Conspiracy to violate civil rights?
Absolutely. It could be 18-241, 242. We also have hate crime statutes that apply. I believe that some of the epithets that were hurled at some of the members of the crowd made reference to their race and to other protected characteristics under the law, the comments about Charlie and so forth. So we will be obviously looking at, a deep dive into all the potential criminal and civil aspects of this. But, the obvious version here is, oh my gosh, it's Antifa attacking people. But I also have concerns about UC Berkeley's history of not protecting conservative speakers on the campus. And I also have concerns, as the top civil rights lawyer in the United States, about whether the Berkeley police are doing their job under the law to protect citizens equally. That's an equal protection concern, Laura. It's the type of thing that we do bring in the Civil Rights Division, and we are going to be looking at that very seriously here in this case.
So a couple of the pushbacks you will hear is that, Turning Point has some speakers that are violent with their rhetoric. I think that will be the most extreme rebuttal that you will hear from the left. Let's say the person has spicy rhetoric at best. Let's say that's true. That still does not excuse the behavior of someone getting violent with law enforcement. That still doesn't excuse someone assaulting an innocent citizen who just clearly wants to attend the event. It's like 2 wrongs don't make a right. Everybody knows that. The best thing to do is to enforce law and order. If we don't have order, we have chaos. And we can't use chaos to fight chaos. We have to use order to fight chaos. And that's just something that must be demanded from these universities. Again, you don't see this coming from when a leftist goes to speak. You don't see conservatives showing up and burning things down. You only see that from people on the left. Ask yourself, why is that? And while you're asking yourself that question, why don't you give me your thoughts in the comment section below to these videos? Let's just go ahead and knock it out. What is your reaction to the president's responses regarding H-1B visas and the economy? I just believe whoever is advising him is feeding him the wrong information. He's really good when he actually speaks to the voters in person, puts his ear to the ground. He's very instinctive. I just don't think he's been able to do that recently because he's been gone. If you think about it, he's been outside the country. Let me know if you guys agree with that. Secondly, what do you make of UC Berkeley? DOJ has finally launched an investigation. I don't think it's good enough. I think you need to cut funding, stop visas, and then federally prosecute Antifa. We only have 2 indictments. But look how fast the FBI moved when they wanted to indict people at January 6th, even people who weren't there. So let's see what happens with that. Let me know if you guys agree. And then ICE, of course, Border Patrol, moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. Let me know what you guys think about that. Just put all your thoughts and everything you got in the comments section below. Now let's take us to our next video where Senator John Fetterman absolutely humiliated the ladies on The View and his own party, for the record, because he continues to be the voice of reason about this whole government shutdown and why he voted in the Senate to reopen the government. They didn't like it. So if you guys missed out on that update and more from earlier today, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.